Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my channel. Tonight we're going to take a look at a cool game that Mizu gave me. He gifted me this for Christmas, I believe. Was it my birthday? I think it was for Christmas. This is the scaled down version. This is FS1, Aerofly, FS1. Aerofly is a game that's being developed. It's been around for a while, the series. We're going to start taxiing to the runway to take off. This game has been in development for some time. It started out and is still sold as a flight simulator for RC pilots. Okay, now that's not what we're looking at right here, but that's how the game started. They're currently on version 7 of the RC version of this game. So you're going to ask yourself probably to start with, why on earth, first of all, why are we talking about it? Well, because I think the roots here are kind of important to what we're seeing and what we're playing. So they, why would you have a game where you simulate flying simulated aircraft, right? Like, why on earth would you need a game that teaches you how to fly RC airplanes? But that's the key, isn't it? And for those of you that are familiar with my channel, you'll know that I started out actually probably 6 or 7 years ago attempting to review, somewhat unsuccessfully, RC airplanes. It was a big hobby of mine, still is. I still have probably about 40 remote control airplanes in my basements. Most of them are very small. I like the microjets and the micro airplanes. So I got, like an old 16-inch wingspan Spitfire, a Trojan T-28, a Mustang, a Fokker DR-1, and all of them have like 16-inch or smaller wingspans. So they're really small aircraft. Just to give you an idea, it's like, a little bit bigger than a foot for the wingspan. And so with that said, the first airplane that I flew, I was really scared I was going to crash it. So instead of flying it first, I went out and I paid for another program called Clearview RC, and learned how to fly remote control airplanes. Well, then after that, I wanted to get into bigger airplanes, but Clearview doesn't really do a good job simulating larger aircraft. They all kind of fly the same, small or large. So I checked out Aerofly, and it was only like 30 or 40 bucks. I already had a controller to plug into my computer. Tower, this is F-18. I don't know what my call sign is. Requesting clearance for takeoff. Runway. What are we on here? We're just making it up. They don't care. Oh, this isn't a runway. I thought. Oh wait, it is. Okay, I don't know how my view jerk. This thing does jerk around really fast. You have to move the mouse slowly. So we're just going to take off here. So anyway, what was I getting at? The Aerofly, the RC version, did a much better job of simulating larger aircraft than the Clearview RC that I was using. So I purchased it and downloaded it and used Aerofly to learn how to fly the larger aircraft. And at the time, they were just making the transition into this. They had added a module into their RC game where you could switch to the cockpit of the RC aircraft and fly it from the cockpit. You can see there, I just totally goosed it. We went into afterburner there and got up to almost 200 knots a little too quickly. Gear up, flaps up, and we're gonna take off here. We are taking off from the Zurich airport in Switzerland, and once again, this version of the game is completely based on Switzerland. So as we lift off, I'm going to have to figure out where the mountains are. I think they're to our left, but we're going to climb for a bit. Take a look around here and enjoy the flight. We're going to be looking for a small airport to land at in the mountains for a little fun. But you can see here, what they've done is they do satellite imagery. This is something that the Microsoft Flight Simulator hasn't done. They use satellite textures, but they're not like real to the, here we're seeing actual cities and rivers and hills and forest areas that are in Switzerland. This is actually real to life. So we're using satellite imagery for our depiction of the ground below. Now you can see here we're starting to pass out of the high detail area. You can see below us now it's starting to get ugly. That's one of the issues with satellite textures. If you don't have the whole map, it gets pretty ugly pretty quick. We just kind of flew out of the area. So we're going to make a turn here. You can see straight ahead too, we're getting into that ugly area. So right below us it's beautiful, but ahead it's not so beautiful. So we need to that. I don't know why the mouse is doing that. It wasn't doing that to me yesterday. There's the mountains up ahead. There's the airport we just took off from. You can see here we are very high above the airport right now. We're at 28,000 feet, flying with afterburner on, climbing rapidly to a pretty high altitude. We're going to be safe. We're just going to fly towards the mountains, and then we're going to find ourselves a nice place to land as we continue to talk about this game. So what they've done now is they've released this version of the game. This is the gift that Mizu gave me. For $10, you get 8 aircraft, including this F-18 Hornet. You get very simple flight settings. So you can't change the time of day. You can't change your scenery locations. You can only fly within the Switzerland area, which is fine because it's beautiful. There's no air traffic. There's no tutorials. Basically, you're given 8 aircraft and about 400 or 500 square miles of beautiful terrain to fly over. Now, in a jet, it's kind of wasted because we can kind of get across the map in this aircraft. If we're traveling at full speed, within a couple minutes, we can be from one end of the detail scenery to the other. But in some of the other general aviation aircraft that they've given us, it can take much longer. You probably could fly for an hour or two. You could start in the mountains, like you can start in Zurich and fly to the mountains, or vice versa, or hop around different mountain airports, and it will take you some time to get to those different locations. So this game does have some fun to it. Now, Aerofly 2, that's their bigger product. It's $49.99. It is currently in alpha, so it's released. You can play it, but it is probably at the same level that this game is right now, but with some additional features. And what that includes is 16 aircraft, including some commercial airplanes, so you have some larger aircraft that you can fly. Supposedly, and I don't know if this is activated or not yet, in the version 2, it's got real world hang on. What was I going to say? Sorry, I gotta get the blood back in my brain here. Look how pretty that is, though. And that's the satellite scenery. Once again, when you get down low, the satellite scenery kind of falls apart. But okay, so it has 150 airports. That's what I was going to get to. The full version of this game is 150 airports within the southwestern USA. So it has hundreds of square miles of the southern region of the United States. I'm imagining probably like New Mexico, Colorado, Las Vegas area. Like the big airports are all represented in the southwest of the U.S., which is cool. Because honestly, who wants to fly over the Midwest? I mean, I'm from the Midwest. I love the Midwest, but it's not exciting to look at from an airplane. It's just flat. So they've put in some mountains in the Southwest, and that's where they allow you to fly. So it's a much bigger area. What this kind of reminds me of, this particular version, the $9.99 version. And I should also mention that FS2 and FS1, neither of them have any air traffic mentioned in the liner notes. I haven't seen any in this game for sure. And there's none mentioned in the liner notes of FS2, so that kind of stinks. One of the things that I really liked about the Microsoft Flight Simulator versus any of the other flight simulators that are out there now, like X-Plane or what's the other one? There's another one that's competing with this. None of them offer any traffic, so you're pretty much, in the sky by yourself, and that's not. I mean, really, when you fly, you don't really often see other airplanes except for in and around airports. But part of the fun of flying is getting into those airports and having to deal with traffic when you're landing and being told to go around and having to wait for other aircraft to land. I mean, that's kind of part of the fun of aviating, I guess, if you will. It's the traffic and dealing with that. So I don't know. I kind of miss that feature, but it's okay. I mean. This game is still really nice, and it's fun to poke around in. So if you like just flying and sightseeing, this is a really good game at $10. I think it's a good deal. This kind of stuff, it's obviously having fun kicking around in the F-18. If you're into more, I guess, like simulator-style play, well, then you're probably looking at, getting into the general aviation aircraft. There's a Cessna. There's also a, like a low-wing trainer. I don't know, like a Robin or something like that. That's probably what we'll fly, is the Robin. Maybe we'll fly the Cessna, though. But, we got several different low... And that's a real challenge, too. With this, the F-18, it's no big deal to do what we're doing right now. We're just cruising through the mountains, at 500 miles an hour, making a lot of noise with our afterburners and you know, if I need to, I can kick straight up in the air and just get out of the mountains in seconds. With a Cessna, it's not so easy. But you can see here, it's a nice high detail scenery. Now, if you look left and right, though, there are some texture issues. You can see, like, the mountainsides look right there. They might kind of look goofy, get some stretched textures, and that's where the satellite imagery falls short. That's one of the reasons why Microsoft, with their Flight Simulator X, which is what, like 10 years old now, but still like it's still like the standard for flight simulators. That's one of the reasons why they chose not to do that kind of scenery, because, you know, even though it looks really nice on the ground and stuff, when you see the mountains, part of it looks kind of goofy. Part of it looks great, but part of it looks goofy. I'll tell you what, though, the mountaintops look really nice. Like, I don't know why they look kind of like screwed around with the center sections of the mountains, but the tops of the mountains, they did really like high detail. Maybe that's just how it works with satellite imagery. You know, but this looks, look at this. I mean, this is like, this section up here is beautiful. This looks like you really are like flying over, well, mountains. No skiers out there, huh? So one of the things that, like I said, is missing from this game is the traffic and just the scenery, like the artificial intelligence scenery that is in the Microsoft Flight Simulator. And that is a complaint that I have also with X-Plane. The scenery is gorgeous in this game. Personally, I think this is better looking than X-Plane, but X-Plane does have high-res texture packs that you can add this kind of scenery in. So it's, I don't know. But X-Plane also can be extremely expensive depending on how the author is feeling. Some days he charges $60, some days he charges $200, some days he charges $100. It's a crapshoot with Austin. I think Austin Myers is the guy's name that designs X-Plane. X-Plane's been around for a long time, so, you know, what this game reminds me of is the first, kind of a combination of the first and second editions of Looking Glass Software's Flight Unlimited. For those of you that remember Flight Unlimited, it was the first game to introduce a 3D cockpit, which we have here. Obviously, we can look around the cockpit. Now, none of the things work. In the FS2 version of the game, supposedly, these cockpits are interactive. So, I complain about it here not having any interactivity. I can't click on any of these buttons or anything. But in the big version of the game, you're supposed to be able to, or will be able to when they're done developing it. But anyway, Looking Glass Software had the same thing. It was the first game that had kind of a cockpit feeling, and it had these high detail scenery textures for the game, like all over Southern California, and was it Washington? I think it was Washington State, like the Seattle area was covered. And that game was excellent. And it really, they were also the first to add in actual air traffic. So you didn't just have communications like you do in X-Plane, but you actually have, you'd hear, Cessna 2 Lima Golf landing on runway 27 right, and you'd look as you're coming in, and sure enough, there was a Cessna, coming in for a landing. So, this game doesn't have that, unfortunately. Now, like I said, I don't know if they're going to add it in the big version, the $50 version, but it didn't say anything about that. So I'm assuming that the answer is no, that there won't be any traffic. And that really, unfortunately, that's one thing that Microsoft took kind of that idea from Looking Glass. I'm not saying they stole it, because I don't know that, but they implemented a very similar system into their game, so you can actually see traffic flying. You have to give out commands when you have to ask, for permission to land and to take off when you're playing the Microsoft Flight Simulator X, and I really like that about it, and I wish this game had it. So in some ways, this game has it beat. Obviously, the graphics are stunning. Very smooth gameplay. I mean, I'm running 90 to 150 frames a second. I can't really see it because my monitor only does 60, but just obviously a beautiful experience flying. And pop on the air brakes here so I don't crash into the mountain. But this is just a really, really good-looking simulator, and it feels nice too. It really has a good feel to it. So now we have to find an airport and see if we can get this bird down on the ground without killing ourselves. So anyway, I really like it. I'm thankful, and it's at $10. If you like to fly, I think that's really what this is about. If you like general aviation, if you want to just putz around the mountains and fly around and look at how beautiful it is in Germany, this is going to be a good game for you. Like, this is not Germany. I'm sorry, Switzerland. This is going to be a good way to do that. This is a chance for you to get into the Swiss Alps with an airplane and fly around as you might have always wanted to do. And I think that that does have an appeal. I know most pilots dream of flying near the mountains, though I think after some of them do it, they get they realize how scary it is and dangerous, and if the weather's bad, the altitudes are higher, so you don't get as much lift. I mean, there's all kinds of issues that come in when you're flying in the mountains and not in an F-18 Hornet, you know, but in a Cessna. You run out of space pretty quick. But it gives you that experience of mountain flying, plus you can go out into the flatlands of Switzerland and fly around there. So once again, I think this is a pretty cool game, and I think for $10 it's definitely worth it. Personally, I would like to eventually get the full version of the game and play it, because once again, it's offering a newer flight simulator that's got updated graphics and updated, you know, there's an updated engine underneath this thing that Microsoft just hasn't offered us in a long time. I know that they're supposedly working on something new, but you know, FX10 right now is 10 years old, and that's the last version of any kind of flight simulator software we have from them. Now I think Dovetail Games once again is working on another newer version of the flight sim, but we'll see how they do. Maybe they'll combine with this company, we'll see. But right here, it's great. I mean, it's just very smooth, silky smooth. It feels like I'm flying, like on my big TV here, I'm like... Now one thing that would really benefit, and this does, I know the full version of this game supports Track IR. I'm not sure if this version does, but it did. I was checking out the stats for the full version. It does do, what do you call it, the VR headsets. I can't think of the brand. Sorry, my brain is drawing away. There's so many of them now. Oculus Rift. Supposedly it will support Oculus Rift, and it also supports IR Tracker, so you can, instead of having to use the mouse like I am to look around the cockpit, you can just look around the cockpit, and that's pretty neat. Alright, we need to figure out where an airport is. Scenery. And there's some challenges you can see here. Actually, there's a bunch of challenges. So that's cool. It gives you some other stuff. You can definitely change the weather, but once again, you're not able to change choose start location. I just need to see the map. We are flying in an unstraight line towards Ambry. I don't know. I know here with the Raron and Tutman that this is a big airport, but we're a long way away from that. So maybe we'll try to see what Ambry is. I wish we could... Nah, I don't want to do that. That's going to put us in right into it. But we can keep flying this direction. We know it's off to this way a little bit. Boost up our speed here. Burn off all of our fuel. I don't know if we still have, like, what we're doing for fuel. We have 6,978 liters, it looks like. Traveling almost at the speed of sound. We should cross the sound barrier here as I get over the top of these mountains. Get our nose down a little bit so we can start picking up speed. And we're over the sound barrier. Obviously, it doesn't simulate that. No boom. No vibrations. I don't know if the pilot hears a boom. I think they do, but I'm not sure. I've never been in an airplane that's gone over supersonic. I've seen airplanes go supersonic, but... Alright, so we should be in the area. So let's take a look really quick here at the scenery map again. Ambry is going to be to our right. A little further down, so we're going to keep going this way. I'm cutting back on the speed. Hear that nice jet sound as we shut the jets off. I don't think it's going to be here. It's probably on the other side of this ridge right here. Keep our speed around 400 knots. I'm looking this way to see if it's down there. I don't think that's going to be it. It's probably going to be in this huge valley here. Look at this, though. I mean, just astounding scenery. I mean, this is just gorgeous, and it really, they did a nice job portraying Switzerland. Obviously, it's portraying itself because it's all, you know, satellite imagery, but it's beautiful. Alright, so let's see if we can find the airport here. There's a freeway. I don't see anything that looks like an airport. Let's take a look one more time at the map. Ambry is hard to the right, so let's do it. Pilot breathing. Alright, I can see the airport. We're going to cut way back on our speed here. I've got the air brake deployed on the back of the aircraft there. I don't think we're going to make it. I think we're going to have to come in Yeah, this is a really tight landing strip. Wow. 250, 240, 230. Flaps down, gear down. And we're still way high. This is going to be a tough approach. Well, we can do it. We're in a fighter plane. We can do it, for crying out loud. All right, 160. We're going to start losing floatiness here. I'm going to boost the engines up. There we go. Now, it's a little scary because I'm still kind of hot. I'm going to pop out our air brake, and then back down again, 165. About landing speed here. Sink rate's a little bit steep, but we'll pull back right when we get down. There we go. Cool. Oh, and we're floating. Need to get that down on the ground. Good. Get the nose down. And brakes. Air brakes. Perfect. A little bit on the right. A little bit right of center, but that's all right. As long as we get it on the runway. So, nice landing. And here we are in some airport in Switzerland. I don't know where. Let's check out one of the other airplanes. So we're going to park it right here. Actually, we'll get turned and face the other way so we're ready for takeoff. I don't have any wind on right now, but you can change the weather conditions. You can also make it like winds and gusts and stuff like that. And that's pretty cool. Make it a little bit harder to fly. Maybe we'll put some on. Let's see here. Achievements, challenges, views, graphics, settings, wind. We'll select a preset. Medium wind. Average direction north. I don't know where we're headed, but let's look around. I don't know if there should be a windsock somewhere on the runway. I don't see one. Okay, well, we're just going to guess. Select the aircraft. Let's go for, let's see. So you got a pits. You can do some stunts. You have both an extra 330 in the pits. You got a, obviously, what do you call this? Glider. My brain's not working. Stop with camel. Right? Is this a camel? Yep, that's a camel. Cessna 172. A powered Discus BM. And the Robin. Robin's pretty fast. You know, let's go with the Cessna. We'll go with the good old General Aviation. And Ambry runway 11. Cool. Pop the flaps down a notch. Take off here. And we'll just make a quick circuit, but just to give you an idea of what the smaller aircraft feels like. I feel like I'm like way back in the cockpit. Oh, I'm way too early to be taken off, but okay. I wasn't paying attention to my speedometer. You should roll around 80. There's 70. But we do have one notch of flaps on. We're gonna keep them on for a little bit until I get high enough. Now we're gonna cut the flaps. We'll see our airspeed increase. Cool. So you can see here, you know, the textures look kind of goofy when you're close to the ground. I mean, they're pretty low res, and that's one of the downsides of using satellite textures. You know, the Microsoft, once again, they chose to do just regular textures, not satellite textures, and then they use 3D buildings, which make the houses look a little more realistic. So it depends. Pick your poison. I mean, I don't know what you like. It tends to look a little duller and the same everywhere, whereas this tends to really look like the area that you're in. But this breaks up pretty badly when you get down close to the ground. So flying these little airplanes, you see it much longer than you do when you're in the jet. And you're just off the ground and flying away very quickly, and you're not really noticing how bad the textures are. But it's okay. Life will go on. I'm just picky. Everybody knows from my Farm Sim channel, I get super picky about mods and about graphics and about textures. So that's just me. So we're making a very dangerous bank to the left here and start heading back towards the runway. For a quick demo on the Cessna flight. It feels frightening, doesn't it? This is an interesting airport. I mean, really, you probably should always come in from the other end. I don't know that they would normally have you fly in from here because you have such a huge drop. Like, I can't put my flaps down. I'm over flap speed right now, I think. Yeah. The white line is where you can deploy flaps. So I'm over by almost 20 knots. So we'll have to get down low and then try to nose up and then try to bleed off some speed, and then we'll add flaps to slow down. I don't know if we'll be able to get the airplane down to the ground. It's a pretty long runway. This runway 29 is, but okay, there we go. Flaps down. Full power. Whoop! You can see the lift right there. The plane jumped up because of the flaps, but now we're bleeding off speed because the flaps are working as air brakes. So this is actually, we're not even at the halfway point of the runway, so we're doing just fine. Whoa! Don't stall. Now we're way below speed. Good. A little bit of a scary landing there. You're supposed to keep 60 knots. That was a tough approach, though, with that short approach. But anyway, we did it. We didn't crash. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen. So hopefully you've enjoyed this little quick look into Aerofly MS1 or FS1, not FS2, but FS1, and that you were, like I said, if you're looking to spend, if you have $10 to spend and you're looking for kind of a fun flight simulator, this is really nice. I personally like the way it handles, and it's a good, like, hey, I got 20 minutes before I have to leave. Let's pop up in the air and fly around a little bit type of simulator. Now, it doesn't have the deep simulating aspects that the flight simulator offers from Microsoft, but it's, for what it is, it's a lot of fun and a good price, I think. So anyway, have a great night, guys. Be sure to subscribe, and I will see you on the web.